Hello, this is Mark from IMNG Organic, and welcome. Today we're going to go over how to use an Earthway push seeder. Also, I'm going to include 10 helpful tips how to use this properly and to improve the seeder. This is your standard Earthway seeder. It comes with your row marker, which is the aluminum pole to your right that sticks out with a little bit of a triangle on the end, an open triangle. That marks your next row. And also too, that's adjustable. And also your seed plates, which is the black round discs on the bottom. Everything is numbered, and it tells you on the disc what seed goes with that disc. And here's a better close-up. You can see the number on the disc, which is 1002-24, and the types of seed that it will be used for this type of disc. Your Earthway seeder only has 3 adjustments to it, and I'll explain them briefly, but I'm going to show you how you can do more adjustments and also to improve your seeding. We're just going to take a walk in the barn for a second, and I'll show you the 3 adjustments that come from the factory. Your first adjustment you have is your row marker, and that adjusts by turning this screw, and this slides back and forth on this aluminum rail, and you can set how many inches or feet you want from the seeder to your next row. And this edge that will go in the soil will scratch the soil and mark your row, so you can push your seeder right into that groove. And also this row marker does fold up and locks in place, so you don't have it on the ground all the time. Number 2 is your seed depth planting guide, or you'll see the aluminum wedge here that cuts into the soil. The soil has to be loose. It will not open the soil up just on its own, but it's adjustable through this screw also too, and I'll show you how to raise this up and down. And there's markings on the inside that will show you the depth that you need. They have a little ruler on the inside to tell you how deep that gauge is set at. And the third adjustment is the multiple seed discs that you will be using per your type of seeds, and they lock on the inside, and I'll show you how to do that. This is where you add your seeds. This is your seed hopper. Now, it's just a container with no holes on the bottom, and the reason why, because the seed plate will bring the seed to the top and slide it through a groove. Now, also too, the seed plate that you're going to be putting on here goes inside your seed hopper. Now, hopefully you can see this, the black round knob that will pressure fit, and this just slides on here, and then you just spin it, and then it locks in place. And there's little tabs that make it lock in place, and you know you had it done. There's also a thumb hold on the other side to hold the disc, or also too, you can turn the wheel on the outside here in the back to lock into place also. So I'm going to show you how the seeds are lifted up and dropped into this slot here. The bottom is closed, and that's why there's a fill line, because the fill line is lower than this spot here, and this is all open, you can see here, and that's where the seed goes into and falls out the bottom into the ground. Now we put some seeds into the seed hopper, and when the front wheel spins, it spins a belt that I'll show you in a little bit here, but you can see here when you spin the front wheel, when you're pushing it, it will pick up the seed, and then that opening that we saw before, that's going to come up or approach the back of that seed plate, and then the seed will drop out and into the ground through a little bit of a channel on the bottom of the seeder. Now this is the belt I was talking about that's attached to the front wheel and also to that seed plate. So when this spins, the belt spins too, thus spinning the seed plate, and then we'll drop out the seed in the bottom. This is the back view of the seeder, and you can see on the bottom of your screen is the back wheel. Now, when the front wheel spins, it will pick up that seed and drop it through, and then drop it out the bottom onto the ground. Like so. And remember that that spot right here where the black knob is adjustable, and that gives you your seeding depth. And the chain behind pulls the soil back into the groove in the ground, and then your back wheel, with a little bit of pressure that you apply, actually pushes the soil back down into the groove that you created. Now we have a basic understanding how it works, but before we go out and use it, I want to show you a couple helpful tips that we can do inside before we bring it outside and use it. And the first one is to adjust the handle. You can see the seeder I have on the left hand side, the handle is taller than the right one. Now, I'm 6'4", and I need that handle to be up a little bit higher than it originally comes from the factory. So tip number one, you can adjust the handle, the length of the handle coming up towards you. Now what I simply did was cut this aluminum here and here. It's aluminum handle. The whole thing's made out of very good quality aluminum. And then what I did was I measured the height that I needed, and what I did is I took some 1-inch metal piping, electrical conduit, and I measured the height that I would requested, and then I just cut it and then fit back into the pipe and put 2 screws on each end, or 1 on each end, or 2 per pipe, and then basically raise that handle up so I can easily push it at my height of 6'4". So that's tip one. And the reason I did that, it's so much easier to push when it's at a comfortable level to your height. Tip number two, you can make now also you can remove these rubber handle grips and extend your handle up on top to be wider, so it's a lot easier to use. And just use a plastic pipe if you have one, and measure to the length that you are comfortable with again, and just tie wrap it to the top. Now we have a wider handle, so it's a lot easier to use. And also, if you want to, now this is your choice, I always step to the right hand side of the seeder, and that's going to be a tip later on also too, to use it, because you want to tilt the seeder a little bit. Now the handle is offset, so offset it to the right hand side. The reason why is because the seed hopper where it drops the seed is also on the right hand side. Tip number three is simple. The seed plate that you're going to put on is plastic, and the hopper is made out of plastic, seed hopper, and plastic on plastic when it rubs heats up, and that's not a good thing. So what you want to do is you want to create a little bit of less friction in there. So you're going to add a little bit of vegetable oil on the back of the seed plate. Not a lot. You just want to coat it because you do not want it to go on the seeds. It's okay if it does. It's not going to hurt it, but you don't want the seeds to stick together in the seed hopper. So we're going to be planting up some kale today, and this is the kale seed plate here. And now on the back, I'm just going to simply take a little tiny drop. It's a little bit too much, but you can spill it off, and just take it, and then you're going to go around and wipe it on the back here. And you're just going to cause less friction inside that hopper. And make sure it's just coated. You don't want it to drip off or anything else either too. And then it will work a lot easier, and your seeds will be applied at a better rate. Now we just install our disc. And we're all set. And tip number four, make sure that the belt is on the right track, that's sitting in the grooves here, and also too that it spins nice and freely, and there's no dirt or grass or twigs or rocks inside that belt area before you go out and start using it. You want it to be able to spin nice and easily. Tip number five is to remember we offset that handle, because you're going to tilt the seeder a little bit towards you on the right hand side, because that's where the seed drops. And also too, when you start pushing the seeder, what it's going to do, it's going to pick up that seed, and it's not going to fall out because it's on an angle, and then will drop into that groove a lot easier. If you do it upright, sometimes it doesn't pick up a seed. It will miss every so often. Also with this tip, sometimes too when you use your seeder, the seeds pop back out. And if you have it on the angle, it will not do that because it will easily fall into the slot on the side. So it will stop your seeds from popping back out of your seed plate. Tip number 6. Say you want to use a seed plate, but you want to do the spacing more than what the seed plate is going to allow you to do. Like here, it's going to drop basically a seed every ½ inch. So say you wanted to drop it every inch. What you do, you just take some silicone, some removable caulking silicone, and you just put a little dab in each hole. Now you have to do this like almost a day before. You're going to have to let it dry overnight. So, and just keep that there. And again, you can always come back and remove it at a later date so you're not ruining the plate. Just make sure when you're done and you flip it over and it dries, make sure none has gone through the other side here, so basically it doesn't run against the side of the hopper. So tip number 7 is you have to have the soil loose. I have a rototiller, so I'm able to go down an inch and get into that soil and to break it up. If you don't have a rototiller, you can use a rake, and you don't have to do the whole area. You can only do an area that's as wide as the cedar. So you only have to do a spot that's maybe, say, like 2 to 3 inches wide, but you have to make sure the soil is loose enough that it compacts down around the seed again. You need that soil to seed contact. We have our kale seeds in the hopper. Now we just remember to tilt it a little bit on an angle so the seeds can fall through that seed plate into the bottom part, and all of a sudden just ready to push. Just stay to the right hand side of it and you can reach over and the back wheel will push the seeds back into the ground. I'm in the next row over, and this is how I planted my radishes about a week and a half ago. You can see there's 4 rows of radishes here, and what I did was I rototilled the whole area. Now that's going to start making weeds to start coming up, but also included in the radishes, what I did ahead of time was just use a spin seeder, and I don't know if you can see this or not, but there's some clover, which is the smaller leaves that's there by the radishes. It's the little green leaves next to the radishes. The clover will grow pretty much at a slower rate than the radishes, but also this will stop the weeding from coming up and taking over too much. And you can see here, I have 2 radishes, which is the larger leaves, and I have a Dutch white clover also that I planted at the same time, and those are the smaller leaves to the left and to the right of the radishes. That's hopefully going to suppress my weeds in the future when the radishes grow. So that's why, and also too, I planted the clover first, meaning I just spread it over the surface of the soil and just let it sit there. It's small enough to fall into the grooves after it rains. Tip number 8, you have to have the soil debris free. You cannot have large chunks of leaves in the way or weeds in there. It will get in front of that aluminum part here that opens up the soil a little bit and drop the seed down. And if it starts binding up there, it's going to create problems for you. Tip number 9, how fast do you push your seeder? You want to just do a nice gentle walk. There is no rush. You'll get a better seeding rate and better placement if you walk slower. And just look at the seeds dropping from the back or the seeds being picked up by the seed plate. Again, a nice steady pace. And watch those seeds being picked up. And tip number 10, once you get your seeds in the ground, please water. It's going to make a better soil to seed contact, and it's going to help those seeds germinate a lot better. 2, it also helps reduce the amount of bird pressure that might come and pick up that soil, because when anything is tilled or moved around, wildlife loves to see what went on in that area. So please water. I wish to thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. Please write. Thank you very much again.